Hello, friends. This is Professor Googlov. Today's video will be a little unusual, but I'm sure you will like it. So, get comfortable and let's go. The plane lost its roof at an altitude of 7 kilometers. This incident occurred in 1988. Then, without a hitch, the Boeing 737 took off into the sky on its usual route. Having reached an altitude of 7,000 meters and a speed of over 500 kilometers per hour, the aircraft lost 25 square meters of cabin roof as a result of explosive decompression. The pilots reacted instantly. They made an emergency descent, allowing people to breathe, as the oxygen masks were torn off along with the airplane's skin. Due to the damage to the aircraft, the front end sagged by a meter. Due to this, the possibility to release the flaps for braking was lost, and the crew decided to brake the landing gear, but their release indicator showed that the system was not working. The captain then made the decision to land the airplane as soon as possible. Thanks to a miracle and the coordinated team and experience of the crew, the Boeing 737 successfully landed on the runway. No crew or passengers were injured during the landing. As a result of the investigation of the accident, conclusions were made that the cause of the tragedy was metal fatigue, exceeded terms of operation of the airplane. Link 19. On December 5, 1945, 5 Avenger torpedo bombers flew from the U.S. Navy base in Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas. The flight was a training flight. Its purpose was to practice bombing runs. However, these planes did not return, and while searching for them, another seaplane, the Martin Mariner, disappeared. This incident is considered one of the strangest and most unusual in the history of world aviation. The disappearance of the so-called Link 19 inches is associated with the phenomenon of the Bermuda Triangle and is considered one of its major mysteries. From the time of the demise of Link 19 inches until the mid-1980s, 25 small airplanes disappeared while passing through the Bermuda Triangle, or, as it is called, the Devil's Triangle. No wreckage could be found. Some versions subsequently voiced about the cause of the place's anomalous fatality included abduction by certain UFOs and even an underwater city that supposedly strands ships and airplanes. However, studies have proven that the number of missing ships and airplanes in the Bermuda Triangle is proportionally not much higher than in any other part of the ocean. Today, large passenger liners frequently pass through the Bermuda Triangle, and none of them disappear. Flight 739 of the Flying Tiger Line military campaign. In 1962, a U.S. military plane left Guam with more than 90 personnel on board. The aircraft was headed for the Philippines but never arrived at its final destination. The pilots never issued a distress call, and the 1,300 volunteers who tried to search for the missing airliner found no trace or wreckage. The crew of the Liberian tanker claims to have seen a bright glowing object in the sky around the time of Flight 739, but the FAA ruled that it was never able to determine the probable cause of the incident. The disappearance of the Fokker F-27. In 1989, a very strange incident occurred when a Fokker F-27-200 Friendship airplane with 54 passengers disappeared from radar. The plane was on a flight from Islamabad to Gilgit and back. It was on the way back that the plane went missing. The last message from the crew came at 7:40, where there was information about a successful takeoff. However, a short time later, the plane stopped making contact. The Pakistani military's dispatches to the likely locations where the plane went down led to nothing. The plane simply disappeared without a trace. The disappearance of the Stardust airplane. In 1947, a British South American Airways airplane was flying a routine flight. The Stardust airliner was a converted military transport plane, which in turn was a bomber with its armament removed. It could climb to an altitude of over 6 kilometers and reach up to 500 kilometers per hour. At that time, there was nothing better to be desired. In any case, the plane could easily fly over the highest mountain peaks in the area. He was 4 minutes away from landing when he received a strange message. An incomprehensible word, Stendik, was transmitted from the airplane 3 times in a row using Morse code. According to the airport dispatcher, it was transmitted quite clearly and distinctly, but suspiciously fast. And most importantly, he was not familiar with such a strange abbreviation or code. The dispatcher asked the flight to repeat the transmission, and Stendik was repeated twice more. Stardust was never seen or heard from again. It did not arrive at its destination. A search for the remains of the airplane from the air was soon undertaken. The military searched for them on the ground. But nothing was found, and for almost half a century the disappearance of the Stardust remained one of the most mysterious disasters in aviation history. Flight 441. Late in the evening of October 30, 1954, a U.S. Navy plane carrying servicemen and their families mysteriously disappeared near the Bermuda Triangle. Flying to the Azores, R-7 Volts 1 suddenly stopped communicating and neither it nor its passengers were ever seen again. The searchers failed to find even traces of the crash. There was no wreckage. It was as if the airliner had disappeared into the unknown. Ships and airplanes were sent to search for the missing R-7V1. According to experts, the contents of the airliner such as rafts and vests could not have been drowned when the plane broke up in the air or hit the water, and therefore had to be seen by rescuers. Search efforts were halted on November 4 due to deteriorating weather. The participants were completely bewildered, as they did not get their hands on a single clue that could tell them what had happened, including even the standard indicator of an airplane's death, an oily stain. The disappearance of Flight 441 is considered one of the most mysterious in the history of the Bermuda Triangle. Meanwhile, the most likely version of the airliner hit a powerful thunderstorm front, even though the presence of such an did not report the weather service, and the board was equipped with a weather locator. The mystery of Flight 980. This is the most mysterious airplane crash in the history of aviation, which is associated with the activities of special services and drug lords. There are many times more mysteries in this story than answers, although the wreckage of the airplane exists and has been reached by rescuers and enthusiasts more than once. On January 1, 1985, a Boeing 727 was flying from Bolivia, via Ecuador and Panama. The flight was bound for Miami and Chicago. The 5:30 a.m. flight began quietly. At 8:25 local time, the pilot sent a landing request, confirmed the airplane's descent from 5,500 meters, and from that point on there were no reports from the crew. The airplane was lost. The news of the plane's disappearance traveled around the world, and the Bolivian government launched a search. The wreckage was quickly found on the slope of Illimani Mountain at an altitude of 6,000 meters. Professional climbers were the first to reach the site of the plane's crash, and they said that there were no bodies among the wreckage of the plane at all, nor were there any magnetic tapes of the black boxes, the wreckage of which, however, was found. But what happened to the bodies? No one knows. The Boeing 727 that disappeared. On May 25, 2003, a Boeing 727-223 was hijacked from Quatro de Fevereiro International Airport in Luanda, Angola. The former airplane was owned by a Miami-based company and was leased to Angola Airlines at the time of its disappearance. Ben Charles Padilla, a certified flight engineer, aircraft mechanic, and private pilot, and assistant John Miquel Mutantu worked with Angolan aircraft mechanics to return the Boeing 727 to a state of readiness. Neither of them could fly the Boeing. Mutantu was not a pilot, and Padilla held only a private pilot's license. After Padilla and Mutantu boarded the aircraft, it began taxiing and maneuvering erratically. The Boeing 727 took off with its lights off. Neither the plane nor the two men were ever seen again. While most believe Padilla was at the helm, some of his family members claimed he was hired to seize the plane for non-payment because Air Angola had failed to make payments, while others fear the man was being held against his will. Well, as I promised, the video was interesting. So, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.